Welcome to another episode of the Everything College Basketball Podcast, your home for the latest news and analysis from the world of college hoops. Back again are your hosts, Josh Burton, Phil Dexter, and Corey Gardner.
What is up, you guys? Welcome back to another edition of Everything College Basketball. I'm, of course, your host, Josh Burton, and joining me yet again is my teammate, Phil Dexter. Phil, what is up, my friend?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Man, I know
You got a little bit of an echo going on in the background there.
Yeah, that's what I could tell. I might have to switch headsets, but hey, you've got that COVID. How's that going?
Not great, man, but I'm getting through it. So
yeah, man, that sucks. Hey, we got a big show right now. Let me switch these headset real quick. Can you still hear me, Phil?
yeah, you're good.
Okay.
I can still.
All right. Can we hear me better now? All right. Cool.
An echo.
Well, we'll deal with it. It's part of being in the broadcast industry. But we want to say a special shout out to our sponsor this year, Beauty to Beast Nutrition, located in downtown Edinburgh, Indiana. Stop in. It's a juice bar. Stop in and get your protein coffees, your skinny shot tea, all your healthy needs with all the sweetness involved in it. Tell them ECB sent you for a flat 10% off of your entire purchase. So, you know we do it every show. We've got to thank Natasha and company at Beauty to Beast Nutrition for being the title sponsor of Everything College Basketball this year.
Yeah, Natasha and them have been great to us. Just happy to have them along, and I can't wait to get out there and give them a chance.
Absolutely. But look, we're in episode 116. We've been on a big run of guests here lately, and today is no exception. This has been highly promoted and touted. Today, we are joined by the 2023 four-star. Let me repeat that. 4 stars. We had his teammate on a few weeks ago, Rakis Passmore. Joining us today for episode 116 is our friend and yours, Silas Demary Jr. Silas, what is up, my friend?
What's up? How you guys doing?
Doing well, my man. Sounds like you're doing better than us, though. We had a talk off air about what it's like being highly touted, man. That's got to be a crazy feeling knowing all these universities want you, right?
Yeah, it definitely is.
Absolutely. So I'll let you take off here. I know you excited to talk to Silas here today.
Yeah, so I want to start off. I know, I'm from here in Raleigh, so I'm familiar with your time at Millbrook as a sophomore. You guys won a state title. How hard was that decision to move on directly after, winning a title? I don't want to say bigger and better things, but, to move on to a bigger pasture as a recruit. Like, was that a hard decision? Or?
I would say leaving that school was a very hard decision because, I was with all my friends and, being with them every day. Like I've been going to school with them since elementary school. So moving on, like from those friendships, like it was hard, but I knew it was a decision I had to make if I wanted to go where I wanted to go.
Phil, did you have a follow-up to that?
No, go ahead, Josh.
Well, we mentioned at the top of this, being a 4-star kid, and you just had your future teammate, Rakis Passmore, and we asked him all about what it's like being basically swooned over. You just got back home from your visit with Tennessee. Now, Rakis had mentioned he had interest in Tennessee as well. What is it about Coach Barnes and company that is so appealing to high-level recruits like you guys?
Well, first, I would say, Coach Barnes, he puts players in the league. So, when you look at that, it looks like he has a plan for all his players, And then, on my visit there this past week, I can see their player development. They take it really serious. And, talking with Coach Barnes, he has real plans for his kids. And, I can understand why people like to play for Coach Barnes.
Yeah, and he has tradition. If you go back to his Texas days with Kevin Durant and the like, when you see his legacy of coaching guys like that, does that be more appealing to you?
Yeah, I would say it does because if you look at those guys, they were successful in college and now they're successful in the NBA. So you look at some of the guys like KD, PJ Tucker, TJ Ford, they were all successful.
Yeah, Phil.
Yeah, so kind of going in a different direction. You know, you got invited to the NBPA Top 100 camp a few weeks back and really showed out there. You were getting a lot of attention. Did you get any feedback from, any NBA scouts? I'm not even sure what the rules are surrounding that. So I don't want to get anybody in trouble or anything like that, but just how was that experience overall, I guess?
That experience was great. I came in as an underdog, so I was like one of the last people to get an invite. So I just went in there thinking like my stock can only go up. Anything I do, like it can only go forward. I can't take a step backwards. So I just took it as like go in there, do my thing, turn some heads, and see what can happen after that.
And that's a great. Hey, Silas, if you have earbuds or a headset, I think the echo's coming through your screen. If you've got some, to maybe try that.
Yeah, I got you. Give me 1 second.
Okay. No problem. I'm gonna put you on mute real quick so you get it, and then we'll come right back. Okay. All right. Well, while he's getting that figured out, we apologize about the echo. Like I said, these things happen. John Adams last week, Phil. But I love his answer so far. I can't wait to dive in more about the camps and all that with him.
Absolutely. And yeah, the technical difficulties, it's amazing. You can have shit working perfectly for hours on end right beforehand, and then as soon as you go on, the shit always goes haywire. We absolutely know. Like it's literally every time. So I know exactly how it is. So it's no big deal. But
dude, I mean, I think every broadcaster, media member goes through. It's the internet cutting out. It's headset.
It's literally unbelievable, man. Like you couldn't even plan it that way.
Let's see if he's better now. There you go, Silas. Can you hear us now? Looks like he's there. You go. We good?
I can't.
Silas? I can't hear him. He is moving. Dude, if it wasn't for technical issues, I don't know what we would do. We will let him get that figured out. But, these things happen, right? It looks like anyways, we'll get this figured out. We always do. But Phil, though, I can't wait, though, once we get this figured out, talk to him more about the Tennessee trip. We've got VCU in after him. Georgia Tech.
Very vocal about being excited to hear him.
Yeah. Yeah, I know they've been blowing this up. I cannot wait to ask him about the VCU fans because Ram Nation is showing out huge for our friend Silas here.
Absolutely.
We apologize again. We're trying to get the audio fixed on Silas's end here, so there's not that echo. But what was you saying, Phil?
I was just going to say he's got a ton of interest from, seen some Big East schools in on him too. St. John's fans have been tweeting after him. Just a lot of fans very interested in getting this kid in here because he's a winner. We talked about the state championship he won at Millbrook as a sophomore. He's pretty much won wherever he's been at the AAU level, high school level. We talked about how good he was at MBPA camp. He's just a kid that contributes to winning, and anybody that gets him can be very, very happy.
Oh, no, for sure. I mean, like I said, rated a 4-star. They don't hand out stars very lightly. Let's see. Silas, it sounds like you can hear us. Have you tried? Can you hear us?
No.
All right. We'll have you do, Silas, if you can hear us, try to back out and then come back in, and we'll see if that fixes it. Well, we get this figured out again, guys. We apologize. Technical issues, sometimes they're beyond our control. But, you mentioned the Big East, the Georgia Tech, North Carolina State. This is one of those kids like his teammate Rakis that are shooting up these recruiting boards.
Well, and he's the type of kid too who, and not that Rakis isn't, but Silas as a point guard, he's still can't hear you, Silas.
So you know what? We'll deal with the echo. We'll figure it out. If you can't get it to work, we'll just deal with the echo. If you want to take those out, we'll get it rolling here. You gotta love it. Okay. There we go. Hey, there we go.
All right.
Hey, man, we were killing time. Thankful we've been here before. Technical issues, man, they don't stop us.
Yeah.
Shit happens.
But when we were leaving off before we had to fix this issue, we were talking about the camp and your mentality of, man, I got to go in there and compete. When you are there with 99 of the other top prospects in the country, when you look around and there's 4 or 5 stars amongst you, yeah, what is your mindset besides like, hey, man, I've got to go show out? Are you still trying to keep it within like the team realm of like, hey, like when you're scrimmaging, like I'm just going to play me, or am I got to try to put a little extra on for these guys? Talk us through that whole process.
Yeah, so personally, like, I'm not even gonna lie, like, I was a little nervous going in at first, but I feel like after the first few drills, I just found my way. What I found what works, like playing it, like you got to mix it up, playing team ball and also going to get yours, because like it's a camp, but also like you're trying to show your individual skills also, but you don't want to do too much to where it's like you're looking out of place or you like shouldn't be there. So that's really just what I did.
So you're basically just trying to play basketball. I know that sounds very simple, but you know as well as anybody that I'm sure there's people that go to these camps thinking that, man, I've got to put up 40, 50 points
Right.
and I've got to go have these crazy numbers. But that's not always what these high-level coaches are looking for.
Right.
Right. So I think we had mentioned to you about Coach Barnes. You just got back. I think you said, was it yesterday you got back from your visit from Tennessee? Yes, talk us through, man. What's campus like? What is Coach Barnes like? Talk us through that, man, because we don't all get to experience that.
So I would say first, campus was really nice. It's a nice brick campus. There's a lot of places. Like I went to see where the players stayed. It was a really nice dorm. Like everybody gets their own bathroom. Everybody gets their own room. Like campus was just pretty. Like it's just like pretty campus. It looks old, but also kind of looks new. So like the campus, like I definitely can see like why people go there. The campus is pretty nice. And then Coach Barnes is a comedian. Like he has a lot of jokes. He has a lot of stories. Coach Barnes, he's just a great person that you would like to be around.
What about some of the other guys, or the other assistant coaches and associate coaches? Did they have anybody else on campus with you that could have potentially team up with you if you were to go to Tennessee down the road, or was it just solely focused on you this week?
It was solely focused on me. I think it was a visit they had before I came in, but it was just mainly me. I was the only person there.
And when you're there, are they rolling out the red carpet to you? Or they're like, hey, man, this is where you could potentially stay at? Like if they have a special dorms, did they take you into Thompson Bowling Arena and show you like the movie type deal where they're taking you in, they're like, son, can you see yourself in the spotlight here?
Yeah, I would say they did that. We went. It was Thompson Boiler. We went in there, but they had a Boy Scout event going on. But I still went in there. Saw like I've seen the arena before, but I went in there and watched the video of Coach Rick Barnes video. It was really good video, so I did see all that.
And that's exciting, man. Like I said, most of us have not ever been in that position. But we were mentioning while we're trying to get this technical issues figured out, another fan base besides the volunteer fan base that's been really excited about us having you on and picking your brain is the VCU Rams. Ram Nation is very excited about the potential of you joining them down the road. Lots of retweets, lots of quote tweets, # Ram Nation. So what is
doesn't play?
No,
which is crazy.
No. So what is it about VCU? Because I know we'll list your offers officially according to 24/7 here in just a second, but VCU is among them. What is it about so far that you've enjoyed about the VCU? The play style, just all about the VCU Rams. What is it about them that has intrigued you?
Man, just VCU. Like I've been up there a couple times. They really have that family environment. Like Coach Rhodes, like I would say he's like a second father to a lot of players. Like him and Coach Brunt, like I really connected with them from the first time I got on the phone with them. Like it was great just being around them. Then on my official visit, it was like, wow, like I could see why guys come here. And then like being around the guys, just talking to them, hearing things about Coach Rhodes, it was nothing but good things. And like I can see why they have that culture, and I can see why they're winning a lot in the A-10 also. And then their playing style, like they like to play fast. I'm a big time guard. I like to play fast, get out and run. And also they get after it on the defensive side. So their play style and then that family, like it's just a lot I see at VCU that I really like.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned culture because Phil and I covered this sport. You go back to the Anthony Grant days at VCU, and then obviously everybody knows Shaka Smart. it's always been the same, essentially. You want to get up, you want your guys to play with the freedom on offense to get up and go. You want to play fast, as you mentioned, and you want to get after and create havoc on defense, whether that's pressing or in the half court, really putting pressure on somebody. That seems like that really appeals to you. I could kind of see a glimmer in your eye when you're talking about it.
Yeah, it definitely does.
Yeah, I could tell whether the way you're talking. That seems very exciting. It almost seems, now correct me if I'm wrong, it almost seems like a much more organized version of AAU ball. And I mean that in the most positive sense, where it is very chaotic.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Phil, do you have anything? Because I'm pulling up his list of offers here.
Yeah, so I just wanted to sort of, going off that VCU question, the fans have been tweeting a lot about you at VCU. I mentioned, well, we were sort of getting the sound stuff figured out, that St. John's fans, I see them tweeting at you a lot.
Yeah.
How exciting is that? I mean, obviously you get attention from coaches at these tournaments and, getting offers, getting calls, that kind of stuff. But how exciting is it to, be getting attention from these fans?
I would say it's really exciting. Like, it puts a smile on my face to see people that want me to come to their school and play for their schools. Like, it showed that people really like pride about their schools, like alumni and all that. I see why. Like, it just makes you feel good. It builds your self-esteem, really.
Yeah, and absolutely. Talking about the fans, them showing you love and really feeling like a sense of them wanting you there as much as you potentially want to go there. As a high-level recruit, a 4-star kid, eventually you're super close to chasing that 5-star status, but being a high-level recruit, when these fan bases are really seemingly want you to come to their school, how much we hear all the time about, if it's a bad situation, fan bases can upset a player, but they can also bring up a player. So when the fan, how much, I guess, do the Twitter fan base specifically influence you as far as your decision-making process?
I would say it's not a big influential thing I would have to look at, but I would say like seeing if fans like really want to see me go there, I would have to really look at it, to be honest.
And we asked your teammate Rakis, we asked him the same question. It came out a few weeks ago where Jabari Smith, former 5-star kid that just finished his one and only year at Auburn, he had been talking in an interview. Growing up, he wanted to go to Kentucky. Kentucky got in way too late on him, and he committed to Auburn because they believed in him at the start. We asked Rakis the same thing. When you're going through this recruiting process, what do you value the most, and how much is a loyalty factor like that? Like some of these schools, the Tennessees, the VCU, St. John's, etc., that we've already mentioned, the fact that they've already offered, they're showing you the love now. Will that outweigh? Because historically, the blue bloods, the Kentucky, the Duke, the Carolina, they will come in late.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know it's appealing to get those offers, but how much of the loyalty factor plays in, kind of like Jabari had said, and Rakis said that loyalty was a big thing for him as well.
Yeah, personally, I would say like those offers are big, but like you look at the schools that's been recruiting you the whole time, like they've been there the whole time. They've seen you grow, especially the schools that offer you early in your high school career. Like I would say VCU, like they've always been there. Like just looking at that, I would say those blue bloods are cool, but like they weren't there when I wasn't as good as I was now. Like they came in late because they see the potential, but how come they couldn't see it before?
I think that's a very fair question. I think it's one that everybody asks themselves. But it is a different, I think you're smart enough to know too, it is a different flavor when those Kentucky, Dukes, Carolinas, Kansas come calling. Doesn't mean that you'll necessarily want to fall in love with them, but it is a different flavor. I think it is a badge of honor for a lot of players and athletes that are in your situation. So, but you're very much on the same wavelength as Jabari Smith, though. The loyalty, those who believed and saw in me early are the ones who I kind of prefer. Yeah. Okay. Phil?
Yeah. So I just want to pivot away from your recruitment just a little bit and just talk about your game overall, because, you and Josh sort of touched on it earlier when you're talking about the NBPA camp and how you balance that, wanting to show out and show your individual skills and work in the process of a team. But you're kind of a guy who I'd say your skill set and your mentality is mature beyond your years, because you already are an elite perimeter defender, a very good team defender. You do the small things that help win basketball games, and you're not necessarily a guy who's out there chasing the stats. You're not trying to get 35 at the expense of winning a ball game. Where did that mentality kind of start? And is there any, player or players that you kind of model your game after?
Well, first I would say I learned that from my parents. Like, really, I really just learned it from my parents. My parents are humble, so I just look at things like My dad was an NFL player, and he told me like he just does what he needs to do to help the team win. So when you look at that in a basketball perspective, but coach tells me he needs me to play defense and run the team, I'm going to do that because that's what the team needs to help us win. So like looking at that, like my parents are leaders, so I just take things from them and then implement it in my own way in basketball.
So off of that, when you are playing like you have been in the AAU circuit, which I'd like to touch on a little bit here too, but when you're playing in that and you're going to Combine Academy and you're playing with Rakis and other top talent, how much of just the team basketball, because you already got your stars, you've got these big schools recruiting you. So how much are you trying as a leader? How much are you trying to bring up the other guys along with you? Because to me, that's always a sign of a leader. You're going to the next level, but can you bring up the guys that maybe aren't or borderline with you?
Yeah, I would just say from day one, our first practice, I'm going to implement like we're all top talent, but we can't shy away from each other. Like we have to come together as one. Like everybody isn't going to be able to score those 20, 30 points a game because we're all high level kids. And like in college, that's how it's going to be. So we just have to make that adjustment as like all of us being high level. We have to make that adjustment, come together as one, and like whoever has that big game, let's ride through them. Like let's not get selfish. Let's just have that team atmosphere the whole year.
And you know how refreshing that is to hear, because that's a very old school mentality that I feel like sometimes is lost among newer generation players, especially the part about riding who's got a hot hand. Sometimes people feel like they got to get their stats up at either high school, college, or even NBA level, which is very refreshing to hear. We talked again, mentioned your teammate Rakis Passmore. We asked him a little bit about the AAU circuit. If I'm not mistaken, you just wrapped up essentially the summer season this last week, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So talk us through your version of events in the AAU circuit. What is like an average weekend like when you're flying here and flying there? Or maybe if it's close, you'll take a car trip. But talk us through, man. You're going and playing the top talent the country has to offer for the prep level. Talk us through the simpletons. What AAU big time AAU basketball is like.
So I would say on a live period weekend, if it's not nowhere like somewhere we can drive, we catch a flight the day before because we don't want to fly up the day of the game, have jet lag and all that. So we fly the day before, we get settled in, we eat, then I would say we have a practice either later that night or early the next day, but usually it's late that night. And the next day, say we'll have a game at probably like 10:30. We'll have prime time with our strength coach. We'll have prime time. We do like stretching, mobility, just to warm our bodies up. And we'll have breakfast and prime time, and then we'll watch film. And then after film, we'll head to a game, and we might have one or two games that day. In between those two games, we'll play a game, and if we have two, we watch film. We do prime time. We watch film again, and we head to the next game. That's every day until Sunday, the last day, pretty much.
So the big level AAU circuit is almost like a mini college or even professional experience where it's constantly you're working out, you are watching film. It's not just showing up and playing, because I think that seems to be the stigma that you just show up, you play 4 games a day or 3 games a day, you screw around and then you go back home.
Yeah. This big time AAU like this, that's definitely not the case. Like everything is planned out. You got this time to be here. You got to be there early. Like there's no being late to any of those things because there's consequences to it.
So getting to know you a little bit over the course of the last couple of days and in this interview, you sound like the ultimate competitor. But there was the stigma in AAU for a long time. I really feel like it started to change the last couple of years, where guys don't get good coaching. It's like street ball, et cetera, et cetera. But going to these events ourselves, scouting them, writing about them, etc., we've noticed a shift where guys are going after each other. So when you roll up and you're playing, let's just use a guy like DJ Wagner or whoever, for instance, right? A top 10 guy in their team. Is it extra motivation when you see somebody who maybe ranked ahead of you or right there with you or have these other top teams? is it extra motivation to really show out? Is there any difference between an AAU contest and a big time high school, like the actual season contest?
I wouldn't say as matchup wise, I wouldn't say it's different because I would just say it's different in the way your two schools play. Like if your schools play different, I say that's the only thing that's different. But I feel like AAU and high school big time matchups, they don't really differ. Like I would say when I play those big time matchups, and if they're in front of me or even behind me, like I just want to win that matchup because like I don't want that person to say they played better than me that game and we play the same position or they're ranked higher than me. Like I just look at it as it's a game. I gotta step up. Like even though it's a bigger time game, I still gotta step up, do what's best for my team, and really just win that matchup. Really.
So transitioning now from AAU to the high school, we've mentioned you'll be at Combine Academy. You'll be teammates with a guy like Rakeese Passmore. Looking ahead and by the way, shout out your high school coaches. They've been showing so much love for this interview.
Right.
Rakeese, yeah, that's right, man.
Yeah,
showing
AJ
love, following the Twitter, retweeting all that stuff. So we got to give a huge shout out to them. But looking ahead to this upcoming high school season, you guys should have a lot of talent, obviously, just between you two alone, but other kids on the floor as well. When you look ahead to this season, what are your goals? A state championship, obviously, but what are some of the goals individually and as a team that you'd like to see achieved this year?
I would say individually is just to win as many games as I can. You know, we're going to a lot of events, so try to win all those events, be the best leader I can. And then team goals, I would just say mainly I just want to look at winning. Like I want to go undefeated. I don't want to lose any games. Then on top of that, I just want to grow with my brothers because I'm coming in with a new crop of people. Like as a team, I just want to grow with them really.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a very diplomatic answer and a very fair answer. Like I said, not every high school team has a couple 4-star and 5-star kids like you guys are going to have. Right. And I don't normally, I guess I'll ask, are you guys think you can potentially get one of those national rankings that you see in the top 25 USA Today all the time?
Yeah, I know we can. Shoot, I know we can.
And off top of your head, I know you said some bigger events you'll be traveling. Do you off top of your head know some of those events so our listeners can maybe check you guys out if they're in the area?
If I'm not mistaken, I know we're playing in the John Wall Holiday Invitational. I know we're playing in that. And then I think we're going to City of Palms this year too.
And those are massive, especially the John Wall over the years has really grown in stature. Phil, I know you're really familiar with that event.
Yeah. I'm based here in Raleigh. I attend the John Wall basically every year that I can. So I'm sure I will be seeing you guys out there.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, man, as we start to wrap this up, again, we appreciate your time. Know you're busy, just wrapped up the AAU season. And then we appreciate the staying with us through the technical issues. Going back though, switching back to the college basketball frame of mind, you just came back from your Tennessee visit. We've talked about the VCU, we've talked about St. John's, but you're in the state of North Carolina and another school that we've seen that showed you guys some love or showed you some love, the North Carolina State Wolfpack. Have you had much contact with the staff there? Being in the state, is there any sort of, not necessarily pressure, but any sort of feelers from people like, hey man, we'd like to see you stay in state? Talk about North Carolina State and some of those state schools if you could.
So recently NC State just offered me, I want to say last week. You know, it was big because they were one of those schools that first reached out when I was at Millbrook, but then some things happened with the staff and all that. But after they offer, talking to Coach Joel Justice that just got there and Coach Keisa, like it's been really good. You know, that relationship is there, it's growing. I have a visit there on Monday. Like it's been really good, you know. And then I think like now that I reached out, like it's just really good.
And how much advice have you gotten on your recruitment from guys that you've played with in the past, like say an Eric Vanderheiden, who, you know, went to Ole Miss, maybe didn't quite work out the way he had hoped and ends up transferring to UNCW? You know, has he given you some advice on making sure you put yourself in the right situation to succeed right away?
Yeah, he has. Also, my friend at Tennessee, Jonas, he's really like talking to me about it a lot too. They would basically just be saying like, take
Jonas
your time.
Adu? Yeah. I didn't mean Jonas Adu, the big 7-footer. Okay.
Yeah, they just tell me like, take your time, don't rush, because like picking one school, this is a big decision. Like it's the next 4 years of your life, really. So they just be like, make sure you take your time, make sure the school fits you, make sure you like the school, make sure like when you're going in, like to see if you can be an impact player right away, because you don't want to go to a school where you have to sit and wait. See who's at your position. Then you want to look at like have they been putting people in the NBA, like because that's everyone's goal at the end of the day. Like so, really just taking my time, seeing what the coaches have, just really looking at really doing a deep search through everything really.
So basically, it can't be a snap decision. You can't just wake up one morning and say, "Hey, I'm going here," but you haven't done the homework yet. So you really need to do your homework, which makes sense. I guess the last thing on that, because we've asked others, we had Wake Forest guard Davion Williamson on a few episodes back, and we talked with him. I think we mentioned it to Rakis, if my memory serves me correctly. But you're now in the era of the NIL deals. Now, we don't ask you anything like that, but I do want to hear your thoughts on it, because now that these schools, you're able to go and actually profit off of your name, image, and likeness, whether it be T-shirt sales or whatever it may be. When you look around the landscape, what are your thoughts on the NIL? And has any of these schools, and I don't want you naming names because I don't want you to do any of that, but just have any of these schools maybe even talked to you about potential NIL stuff and your thoughts on it?
Personally, I think NIL is a good thing. You know, people can finally profit off their name, image, likeness. So personally, I think it's really good. You know, I talk to schools about it, but I feel like at the end of the day, you still have to perform to be able to get these deals. So you still got to do all the work behind it to earn these deals. So really, like, I mean, NIL is cool, but if you're not producing or anything, like, you're not gonna really have any deals for real.
No, I think that's completely fair. I just very curious, since this is essentially still uncharted territory, and you are coming in along at the right time to really profit off of it potentially. Well, wrapping this up, first of all, if you've got anything you want to plug, upcoming events, your socials, go ahead and do it now so our fan base can go check you out or follow you if you've got that.
Yeah, I just say my Instagram is Silas Demary Jr. My Twitter is Silas_Demary Jr. And any clothing brands, if you have anything, reach out to me, because I'm really into clothing. So.
Dude, I like this dude, man. He's always got the business brain. I like that. I like that. That's very smart, though. Very smart. The last thing, though, looking ahead to your upcoming high school season, I know you already mentioned it. When we talk again, let's say we talk at the end of the year as you head into your last year of AAU. Personal goals. I know you mentioned like state title, just being the best, offers, all that. But when we look ahead a year from now, where do you want to be at?
I want to be a top-ranked guard. I want to be known around the world. I want to be known as a leader. I just want to be able to get myself out there and be influential, really. Just be an influential person.
Both on and off the floor.
Correct.
Well, man, we love that answer. Dude, it felt like 30 minutes flew by. Again, we apologize about technical difficulties. Things happen in the business sometimes. But yeah. Silas, we appreciate your time, my friend. You have a fan in us now for the rest of your playing days and beyond. You have an open invite. We've told Rakis and Davion, you guys have been so great to us. You have an open invite. Hopefully we can get you back on here a couple times throughout the year and check in on you. But we appreciate your time a lot, Silas. We wish you the best of the rest of your summer and heading into the new upcoming high school season at Combine. By the way, shout out Combine again. You got great coaches there, man. Great coaches. But Silas, we appreciate your time, my friend, and we cannot wait to talk to you again here in the future.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you guys for having me on here.
Have a good one, Silas.
It was our pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, 4-star guard in the class of 2023, Silas Demary Jr. What a class act that kid is, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we talked when we were getting stuff figured out, just he's a winner, mature beyond his years, as you heard throughout that interview, and just his mentality towards the game in general. You know, he is a kid. There was that tweet going around a few weeks ago. It was a video of Bradley Beal just chewing his AAU team out because everybody out there wanted to score 30 points and they were getting fucking smoked. And like Silas Demary Jr. is not that kind of kid that you got to worry about anything like that. He will score 5 points rather than score 30 points if that's what it's going to do to help you win a game. And I have a feeling he probably made a lot more fans during this interview. You know, college coaches had to have love to hear a lot of those answers.
Very well spoken. Like you mentioned, he just by his answers alone, you could tell that he values winning. He knows what he can do. If he goes out and scores 30, he scores 30. But if he can only score 7, have a bunch of rebounds, but lock down the other team's best player, that's all that matters. And I think that's why you see, to me, I think culture-wise, the schools we mentioned, you look at him at a Tennessee and their culture. I mean, you got to go be a winner, play for Rick Barnes. You got to be able to take hard coaching. VCU, the play style, you've got to be tough-minded to go there. North Carolina State, I mean, he fits the mold. I think that's why these schools like that have offered him.
Well, and he has that true leadership quality when you hear him talk. There's some guys who, they lead by puffing their chest out and getting in your face and acting like the big bad leader. And you can tell that Silas is a true leader. And he talked about, learning that from his parents. His dad was a former NFL player. And that sort of leading by example, again, is something that, a dude like Rick Barnes is going to love having in his program. If in fact they get him there, or anybody's going to love having him. I mean, he's a dude who, whether you have him for 1 or 4 years, is going to be a program changer.
Yeah, how about him name dropping his buddy Jonas Idu from Tennessee too? That dude's
Absolutely.
a shot blocking machine.
Yeah,
I would note.
It sounds like there are definitely some strong Tennessee connections.
Yeah.
I don't want to read too much into that because he still has a full year ahead of him to make a decision, and he's going to have a lot more schools, I have a feeling, come calling here in the next 6-8 months. So he's going to have his choice of plenty of phenomenal institutions that he can go to.
Absolutely. And I loved his answer on loyalty. And again, like I mentioned to him, though, it's different. You can say that, but and this is no offense to any other fan base, but you know what I'm saying by the Blue Bloods, once Tennessee or Kentucky and Duke and Kansas, them eventually come calling, and I think they will for him, then it's a whole nother ball of wax when you finally are confronted with that.
Absolutely. And I think there's something to those schools coming in a little bit later, though, that maybe puts a chip on some of these guys' shoulder, too, that says, you know what? Fuck you. I want to go somewhere and I want to show you that you should have been recruiting me instead of Dillingham. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, I know.
That type of thing where obviously in the back of your mind, you're like, oh, if Cal's calling, I got to at least listen. But then there has to be that thing where you're like, yeah, I just want to stick it to him.
He mentioned, too, getting the advice about taking the recruiting trail. He mentioned one of the things he mentioned are they putting players in the pros? And who does it better than Coach Calipari?
Absolutely. Well, and that's why I brought that question up because, he was teammates with Eric Vanderheiden, who was another top 100 recruit, pretty highly touted, and had a rough go at Ole Miss this past year, just didn't get a lot of time on the floor. And, you only have 4 opportunities, 4 years to get on the floor and show what you can do when everybody's goal is to go to the NBA. So it's really crucial to take advantage of, every single one of those opportunities.
Yeah, and I'm glad that he mentioned that too, because I don't think a lot of people, I think some people just think, oh, well, it's because of the name brand. We'll go there regardless. But I'm glad he is saying that he's taking their advice, doing the homework, because like he mentioned, this is where you're going for the next handful of years to play your college basketball. It needs to be the right fit. Don't rush this decision. Like I would caution every top recruit. We told Raquise, don't rush your decision. Take your time. Enjoy the process.
Absolutely. And again, with these type of guys, it's not, if you're a 3-star recruit or something, maybe you take your best offer when you get it because you're worried it's going to go away. But when you're a 4 or 5-star guy, those things are going to keep rolling in. You just got to take your time and make sure you make the most educated, patient decision that you can. Because when you get into trouble is when you start making these, on a whim decisions. And I hate to keep bringing him up, but Amani Bates, decides to reclassify at the last fucking second and then changes from Michigan State to Memphis. And just, the best situations are the ones where kids make a well-informed decision.
Yeah, and a lot like Raquise, how much did you love that answer he gave about competition, where it does not scare him and he just wants to battle? Like in a world where kids are constantly transferring and moving because they're not getting playing time, he flat tells you that he wants to go at you.
Well, and then he shows, like I mentioned, he is an elite perimeter defender. He's going to step up and guard whoever the best guard is on the other team and not back down from it. And there are a lot of guys who, probably could be elite defenders, but they don't want to risk having some dude yam on them in front of 50 D1 scouts. Whereas
you gotta look
Silas
cool, right?
Silas doesn't give a shit. he's like, fuck, I'm going to lock you down. And if not, then we'll go from there. But, and I think you definitely seen just in the way he talked, he has that confidence too. You know, he may not have that same kind of like yell, scream, stare you down that we talked about with Rakis, but he clearly has a, you know, an air of confidence about him.
No, absolutely. And not everybody who puffs their chest out, it really is all that. It's a defense mechanism. Anyways, the last thing before we get out of here, we mentioned he's obviously a 4-star. He's ranked number 115 in the 24/7 composite rankings. 115 nationally is what I meant. Man, if you look at his average rating, it's basically a 94 because the way they do it, 0.9480. Dude, he's only a couple points away from getting a 5-star status. Like, I could easily see him being a top 50 player by the time his senior year rolls around.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I mean, he's going into his senior year, but he's going to be playing with elite talent. Excuse me. You know, in these bigger events, and he's played on huge stages obviously already, but I just think getting even more exposure this upcoming season, he'll easily be top 75. Would not surprise me at all, top 50, and he's going to be one of those kids, I think, like a Terquavion Smith in the aspect, not from a scoring perspective, but somebody that we look at that comes in maybe a little bit under the radar that people aren't expecting to contribute a ton right away, and I think he will.
Absolutely. And by the way, him being at the John Wall, him and Rakis, hopefully you get a chance to go out there and introduce us, you know, do all that whole deal. So that'd be cool. But man, what a great interview. Definitely a big fan of Silas. Hopefully we can get him back on a few times here and form that relationship with him. Again, shout out to Combine Academy, dude. That coaching staff is all about ECB right now. We can't thank them enough.
Absolutely. And I mean, all about us, which is awesome, but clearly all about promoting their dudes. I mean, they're trying to get their guys seen wherever they can, which is, you know, obviously great advertisement for their school as well. But that's what, you know, high school coaches should be out here doing. So,
oh yeah, and we got to shout out the VCU Nation, Ram Nation, North Carolina State, St. John's. Got a lot of love. I mean, we told him, but there was a lot of people excited to hear from him today.
Yeah, absolutely. I told you, you know, sort of before we had him on that I knew he had a pretty big following, at least throughout the state of North Carolina, because he is a state champion, just pretty well-known kid. But I had no idea we would get the reception that we've gotten just through promoting the show. And, you know, he said his family is pretty excited for him coming on. So just it was awesome.
Yeah, dude, can't thank him enough. Like I said, hopefully we can get him back on a couple times throughout the year. That seems pretty likely. I feel like he had a good time on here and did a great job. But guys, wrapping up episode 116. Again, special shout out to our title sponsor this year, sponsoring everything college basketball, Beauty to Beast Nutrition, located in downtown Edinburgh, Indiana. It's a juice bar. It's got all your healthy protein coffees, which are phenomenal. It's got your skinny shot teas. You can have the guilty pleasure, if you will, of having what's normally caffeine loaded and bad for you, but you can have it and it's actually good for you, low in carbs. It goes with any diet. If you're in the area, Central Indiana especially, stop in, tell the owner, Natasha, that ECB sent you, get 10% off your entire purchase. It is phenomenal. We cannot thank Beauty to Beast Nutrition enough for being our title sponsor this year. And guys, again, we apologize about the early technical issues. Sometimes this shit happens, but we roll with the punches like only ECB can. But until episode 117, for Phil, who has the COVID, or the Corvid, as some people like to say, I've been your host, Josh Burton. We hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend, and we will see you down the road.